All right, boys. Welcome to this week's episode of Your Line and Length. I'm Aiden. We've got Kels with us, and today's sort of guest, Tom Keft. How are you, fellas?
G'day, good.
I'm going
good,
well, mate.
Good.
Yeah, I'm going really great, in a good headspace. So really keen to hear TK's story. I reckon it's gonna be really good.
Fantastic. I guess before we sort of jump into it, Kefty, what are you up to these days, mate?
Yeah, so I'm back currently living in Robertson again. So that's where I grew up before I ended up in Bathurst. I was Bathurst for about 4 years, Sydney for about 4 or 5, and now I'm back here. I've just almost finished my PE teaching degree. So I've started teaching at a school in Shell Harbour, which is it's good. It's good. It's challenging at times, but it's really good.
How good's being a chalky, TK?
Yeah, mate, not bad. Life. Not bad at all.
Yeah, great to hear. You're a great teacher.
Thanks.
All right. I guess I'll kick it off with the sort of customary starting question of, line and length created by Kels. It's influential to a lot of people, but it means a lot of different things to a lot of different people as well. So, Kefty, what does line and length mean to you?
Mate, I guess to me, first and foremost, I guess it's not just another piss up. Like every other catch up that we have, we all get together, we see each other, we get really excited, and everyone just gets really drunk. The way I explain line and length to people when I'm talking about it is, we're like a bunch of footy players getting together and sharing different like physical injuries that they sustained. Like when I hurt my knee, this is how it felt physically. This doctor was great. These rehab techniques were really useful to me. Line and length is just like this, but with our brains, with our mental health, with our emotions. And I guess what this day is doing is it's continuing to like normalize chatting about your mental health and your emotional health. We're encouraged so much to speak about our emotions, but still all too often, as soon as someone does, people and often blokes are still labeling them soft, still labeling them a pussy. And this day makes hearing someone say that they were talking their psyche or they feel down or anxious more of a normal thing. And I guess not just about suicide prevention. A lot of things are about what happens when you get to a crisis. Line and length is more about, well, I guess it is suicide prevention, but more about maintaining good mental health.
Yeah. That's a really good point, TK. Like my end goal for this is to think like going to the physio should be as common as going to the psychologist. Like the language and the stereotype around that should be the exact same. No one's embarrassed to say that they go to the physio for a knee injury. Why should you be embarrassed to go to the psychologist for your brain at some stage in your life? You know what I mean? Like that's my I guess goal for society, and we're sort of like that in this group that we've got. But you raise a really good point there. Yeah, spot on.
I guess that's what you're saying. Like we're sort of there, and that's what we're like with the group of guys that are coming. For me, I always think it's great. Everyone just sits there and listens with so much respect. And for the person talking, no matter how big or small those problems might be perceived by someone else, everyone knows that those issues are big to that person and having a big effect on their well-being.
Yeah.
And like, just speaking for those guys, getting up can be such a huge thing. It can make a world of difference. And I just have so much admiration for the guys that actually get up and tell their story to everyone.
Yeah, it's a great word, admiration. It is admiration, isn't it? That's a really great way of putting it. Yeah, good wording.
Thanks, Kelza.
Sort of knowing that, what's something that you've taken away personally from line and length?
Personally, mate, I guess honestly, it just goes to show we don't know what people are going through. Like that loud, confident guy that you think just has everything together and not a worry in the world could be that one that's suffering from crippling social anxiety when they think about catching up with their mates at the pub, or any number of mental health issues, or even external problems that are, like weighing so heavily on their mind. One thing I guess I really like about the day and I've taken away from it, and I guess the main reason that I've got some of the younger boys that I play footy with to come, in addition to meeting some really good blokes, it's that no one's going to be up there and tell them not to party or live perfect lives or always eat well or, exercise a certain amount or they have to meditate every day, or no one's going to stand up there and lecture them about any of that. More so, I think they can come to the day and they can go away with some more tools in their toolkit to help them ID issues with like them or their mates, and like implement those strategies before things get to crisis point. Like if there is something going on that's throwing out one or like multiple spheres of their health, multiple dimensions of their health, like they're going on benders every week with their mates, every single weekend. And then through the week, they're feeling down in the dumps, they're depressed or they're anxious. I'm hoping that what people can take out of it is that they can identify that issue and start to put in place some of the things they've heard at Line and Link before it gets to crisis point, essentially.
Yeah, that's right, TK. Jumping on that, like you just want to be aware of your mental health and the decisions that you're making constantly on the weekend influence your mental health. Like you mentioned there, going on benders every single weekend. Well, that's going to have an influence on you come Tuesday morning when you don't want to get up for work. You know what I mean? Like, I think it's just, we're not saying that you can't have fun on your weekends and do all that stuff. Like, we don't tell anyone what to do, but we're just making people aware of it so they can make their own judgment. Because if you tell someone what to do, they won't do it. I mean, I guess we just provide a platform where information's delivered, experiences from each other, and then the individual makes their own decision up. I think so. I think we're on the same page there, TK.
Yep, I agree.
Keffi, you said that you one of the first things you said just then was that you brought a whole bunch of the younger boys from your footy club along as well. How did you go about that? We want to get as many people involved in this sort of movement, I guess, and making mental health conversations more and more normalized. How is it that you went about doing that? Because it can be a daunting subject for a lot of people.
Yep. Yeah, it is. So I think I'm really lucky that really fortunate I've got this great group of mates from Robertson, who a lot of them I've known my whole life. But the new ones who come into our group, everyone's really inclusive and accepting of people showing their emotions and guys talking about this sort of stuff. I guess I just sent out a message to everyone, and it's an open message. I'm not forcing anyone to come. I just said they can come along as long as they can be respectful. They'll meet some excellent blokes from a range of lifestyles who are genuinely going to care about their issues and about each other, and they're going to see that it's completely normal to care about your mate if he's having a hard time. I did talk about, no one's going to preach at them to drastically change their lives or stop drinking or stop going out or like sit in a circle and make them sing Kumbaya to each other. It's just a good, wholesome day where blokes get around each other and we play cricket. We play some cricket as well.
Have you found it to be an easy sell, TK? So when you're, like, say, recruiting people from your footy club, when you mention it to them for the first time, do most people jump on board? They're like, I want to get around that, or do you find that like, oh no, that's not me? What do you see at your footy club?
I do. The ones that reply, they're in straight away. I don't know whether guys who don't reply, I don't know whether it's not their cup of tea or they're just not great at getting back to me and getting organised. Not quite sure, but the ones who do get back, which is the vast majority, are really keen and really like the idea.
Yeah, you've brought so many people in, which is just like added to it so much. Like, I don't know everyone there on the day, which is great because like I know that you vouch for them as a person, and so you just know that they're going to, bring their A game and be respectful and buy into what we're all about.
Yeah, I think that's key. I think it's key. It's firstly about being respectful. If you want to come, you need to be respectful for the idea of the day, as everyone has been. But I just do think it's really important to continue to diversify the group, because if we continue to do what we're doing, it's great for us. You know, we get this awesome, wholesome experience, healthy experience for us, but we aren't really reaching anyone new. I was really lucky for all the Robbo guys to get on board, and this year I had a bunch of guys from footy who I played with in Sydney were going to come to Tumba as well. So you know, I'll continue to invite new people each year. I think it's important for new people to be involved and hear the message that the day brings.
Yeah, I love it. When you mentioned your footy club in Sydney, is that's East Rugby? Is that right?
Yeah.
Have those boys like ever experienced, like, is there anything like that going around in the city? Like, is there anything of a similar nature in their circle or network of friends?
Not that I'm aware of. No.
Yeah.
Obviously there's a lot of mental health organisations and a lot of organisations doing great things in men's health space, but nothing like what we've got going on.
I think it's a really unique thing that you've put together, Kels, where it's not, none of us are mental health professionals by any standpoint. It's just a bunch of mates getting around and supporting each other and encouraging each other to have those conversations in a space that you're not going to get judged. It's just going to be people sitting there listening and just listening to what you've experienced and what you're going through. Or on the flip side of it, it's people going, hey, these are some things that really helped me get through what I've gone through. Maybe that'll work for someone else as well. I think that's a testament to sort of the culture that I guess everyone had at Bathurst, of that sort of community culture, but just to that sort of safe environment that you've created, Kels.
Thanks, mate. It's lovely to hear. Lovely to hear such nice words.
Kefty, one of the big things of the day was, and you've said it, is the boy, and you've got a lot of admiration for the boys that sort of get up and do speak. What's it like sitting there and sort of listening to your friends say the things that they've gone through, and whether or not you've understood that they were going through that?
Yeah, that's a great question. For some, like I was saying, you know, certain guys going through certain issues, you wouldn't ever know it. A few have talked to us confidentially, you know, before the events, and you know about it for that reason. But like I said, just so much admiration. They're so brave to get up and you know, air their journey, their mental health journey with a bunch of guys who you know, generally speaking, you tell your issues like that to a bunch of guys and you're going to get judged. But to get up in front of everyone who's there, I think it's incredible.
One thing that was also brought up and has been sort of a recurring theme with all of these sort of interviews, which has been really cool, is that the kind of follow-up, that it doesn't just stop on the day, that, you know, boys get up and they tell their stories, and then, you know, even throughout the cricket game, and maybe if there's drinks afterwards, the boys go to that and they're all talking and they're all encouraging each other. But once the event's done and dusted, from what a lot of the boys have been saying, that the follow-up continues on, that you still get people reaching out. I imagine that you're doing that with the boys at Robertson. Are people reciprocating that to yourself as well?
Yeah, they are, which is really nice to see. You know, I can see when you talk to some of the boys about not even about things that necessarily relate to them. It's more just a shift in their way of thinking about you know, mental health issues. I just sort of, you know, you said talked about the presentation and all the time after, and I guess how beneficial that can be for guys. And I guess I just want to talk about that a little bit. That's one thing for me, which I think is really important, because I know through having chats with guys at the pub afterwards. So for anyone that doesn't sort of know, we finish the day, then we have a presentation at the pub, and then inevitably it turns into quite a big night. But, you know, and I completely understand the contradiction of a mental health event and then drinking a lot afterwards. But I just feel the catch up and the benefit of that is so important as well. It serves as a space, I guess, for boys to tell someone more privately how they're going. If they didn't feel comfortable getting up, or they just didn't they didn't feel like they had the chance, or but they listened, and hearing someone's story evoked some sort of feeling in them. It just serves a really good chance for them to have a one-on-one with guys and talk about that. For me, especially, my social health is really important to me, and I know it's really pivotal in how the rest of my health fares. Living in Robbo, I'm isolated from my Bathurst friends, so whenever I can make a catch up, I grab that opportunity with both hands, and I know the difference it makes to my happiness in the weeks after. I'm really lucky because I've got such great mates in Robbo. I've got this really strong support network in Robbo of really good friends, but I know other boys, and from some of the boys speaking, they don't have that. They're so much more isolated than me. And days like Line and Length is their chance to catch up. And I know for them, that aspect of catching up with everyone after the event's over is massive. And I don't think that should be overlooked.
Kefty, that's a really good point. Going back a bit there, how good would it be to be a fly on a wall and listen to those personal conversations after the presentation and everything at the pub? Like, I haven't really thought about that because, I'm not in those private conversations, but you can tell that somewhere along the line there, they're talking about mental health, and like, it's just a part of the conversation. Maybe people that don't feel as confident getting up for the big presentation in front of 100 blokes, that's fine. But you can see, you're right, people having those conversations privately later on. It's just that I hadn't really taken that into consideration. So yeah, thanks for bringing that up.
No worries.
Kefty, you said social health is something that's important to you as well. I guess everyone kind of tells us a couple of ways that they sort of keep their mental health in good form. What do you personally do to kind of keep your mental health sharp and on point?
So firstly, for me, like my social health, it's really important. I know if I miss out on too many catch ups with my friends, I start to feel down about not seeing them, and I've got to sort of balance that out with, I really like my own time as well. I like to sort of have some time to recharge by myself, so it's a fine balance there. But other things for me, I guess exercise is really big for me. So if I miss a week at the gym, I feel really sluggish, so that makes a big difference to me. I meditate. I try. I'm not great with sticking to meditation. It makes a massive difference to me when I do like a good 2 weeks of meditating every day. But then I'll be really happy with how I'm going and forget to meditate for a month.
Sorry to jump in, Kefty, with your meditation, like what's your go-to? What's it look like for you? Is it similar to me with the daily calm app and laying down, or do you just sit on the lounge and chill and quiet? Like what's your technique?
Yeah, I like guided meditation apps. I just reckon,
same.
And that's one thing that I've taken out of these days. I can't remember who it was, but someone talked about it at one of the Line and Length days, and recommended it and said guided meditation apps are great. And for some people, they've been using it for years, and for some people, you've never heard of them before. So for me, I use Headspace. I reckon that's great. But like there's Calm, and there's, I think that Sam Harris does maybe it's called like Making Sense or something. They're all great. But Headspace for me. Yeah,
nice. Sorry, I cut you off there. Keep going. What else? What else works for you?
I think that's about it, eh? Yeah, I like going bushwalking as well. That's my girlfriend and I go bushwalking. There's lots of nice waterfalls and stuff around Robbo. I always feel like revitalised after I have a day bushwalking.
Mate, there is so much research that says being out in nature and being outdoors is so good for your mental health. Like, it doesn't even matter if you just go for a run in the rain. Just being outside is just incredible, especially if you can go on like bushwalks and stuff like that. I reckon it's just through the roof from what I've read.
I back that then. Yep.
Going along with sort of how you invite as many people as you can and you like to be as social as possible, if you were to give advice to people who may be a little bit hesitant in coming to line and length, they're not sure whether it's the thing for them or not, what advice would you give them?
I guess I'd talk about the people they'll meet, about the boys that are there. You know, I'm really proud of the friends that I've got, and I love introducing them to people because I know really good blokes, but also really versatile. You could take them anywhere, and so I always spruik the guys that are going to be there. You know, excellent blokes who are like from all walks of life, all over the country, who are going to genuinely care about you, and the fact that, you know, no one's going to preach at you and no one's going to tell you what to do. It's just going to be advice, and it's just a nice day, and we play some cricket.
That's it. That's exactly it.
I guess this is a kind of a nice spot to sort of wrap it up. Is there anything that you wanted to cover while we're here?
I want to ask Kefty, what do you see? What's your plan, sort of your vision for line and length as it is? I mean, you mentioned you're always trying to recruit, which means we're getting bigger and bigger, and you know, balance of teams, because at the moment it's city versus country. Have you got like a vision sort of for what that potentially looks like moving forward, or you just take it as it comes?
Mate, honestly, and I know like we've sort of talked about a few things that might be in the future for it. But honestly, for my part, I think just continuing to invite new people, continuing to get more people there and get more people, you know, into the event, because I think like almost if we think about it, or if we talk about it, almost everyone that went to the event or has been to the event has been impacted by suicide. You know, whether that was directly or they know someone that has been. And you know, I personally know that's a gut-wrenching, crushing feeling that people have when they first find out that someone close to them has taken their own life. You know, it absolutely rocks communities, and they never fully recover. So, you know, I think the more people that we can get coming, the more likely that we're going to be to have a way of combating that.
Yeah, I agree, mate. I completely agree. Like our message and I guess our goal is to reach as many people as we can about normalizing conversations. And you know, as you've mentioned in this podcast, we can't do that if it just stays in our bubble. Like we've got to branch out. Yeah, I agree.
It's look, it's an important event, and I think everyone who's been a part of it, who's listened to these sort of podcasts and vodcasts that we've done, that, you know, getting that conversation just started with one of you, even if it's just one of your mates, is a valuable conversation to have. And if you're comfortable with sharing with a whole bunch of them, even better. That's great. But no conversation is sort of too small. As long as you're getting that conversation started, that's kind of what's important. And further to the sort of he touched on how suicide sort of is hard for communities to recover from. There are services out there like Lifeline, Headspace, Beyond Blue. Reach out to them. And if you're not comfortable reaching out to them, see your GP. And if you're not comfortable with that, reach out to your mates or your family. You shouldn't have to go through it alone. And I don't think anyone would want any of their mates, any of their friends, any of their family to walk that by themselves. I know all three of us standing here would happily have a conversation and sit down with anyone who is going through something. So if you are going through things like that, or you know someone who's going through something like that, reach out. Any of those services, or just be there to be a friend for them as well. I guess that's kind of the big message that we're getting out there is just be a mate to everyone.
Amen to that.
Easy, fellas. Well, thank you very much, Kefty, for coming on. I know Kel and I really appreciate it, and then you gave us some really great, wise points to talk about as well.
No, it was great,
no
TK.
worries. Thanks, boys. I appreciate having me there.
Really good job.
Cheers, fellas. Everyone listening, look, if you want to be a part of this, please reach out to myself, Kels. or someone else if you want to go through a proxy for it. But we're happy to talk to anyone and everyone about mental health and line and length and what that means to them. But we'll see you all next week.